let's get right down into it with the Giants and what to do when on offense here, because that's the big task, guys. Let's be honest here. This offense has taken a step back the last 2 weeks. And what I mean, like a step back, it's like instead of like a full on step, it's like they leaped like the long jump backwards, basically. Like that's what it is.
Big
It's
time.
it's
Yeah.
it's we've scored 10 points, guys, in the last 2 weeks against the Eagles, which was an average defense going into the game. I said not trying to knock me in this case, even though I hate the Eagles. I'm just trying to give you blunt facts here. They're an average defense. Then you go against the Bengals the week before that,
Which
who
is
are one of the
terrible.
worst defense points wise. And that's what matters, guys. I know people like to judge yards and this kind of. I love to judge a defense based on points because in the end, I couldn't give two craps about how many yards you give up if you're not giving up a lot of points. Like if the Giants defense was like number 32 in total yards given up per game, but number 1 in points, I would have not a single gripe. I would have concerns how long that can last, obviously. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a single gripe because the end, the points is all that matters. Well, guys, we're facing the second best defense in the league based on points. They're allowing just 14.4 points per game. That is ridiculously low.
Look.
Like, and now the sad part is, think about what I said. They're averaging giving up 14.4 points a game, and that's ridiculously low. And yet we're only averaging 5 points a game the last 2 weeks. What does that tell you that we're thinking is going to happen to the Giants on offense this week?
It's going to look like it they did last week.
Yeah.
Against the Eagles.
If not worse.
What's going to be amazing is this is when the offense gets explosive.
It'd be hilarious. It'd be fitting.
The first time we get over 30 points in like 3 years.
The second we give up on them, that's when the Giants are like, okay, the fans are giving up now. Let's turn it on again.
Yeah. Oh, you want to see a 30 burger? Let's go.
Here you go. 50 points, guys. Be the rest of the whole year we'll score 50, but there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now the Giants, obviously, they didn't run the ball a lot last week against the Eagles. That was one of the gripes that we had with the offense overall. You know, just kind of abandon the run entirely, almost like we have a good quarterback when we don't. But that actually might be one of the better strategies this week, guys. This is a defense that we said is very good overall, but they are amazing against the run. Absolutely amazing against the run. They allowed just 3.6 yards per carry, second in the league, and a total of 81 rushing yards per game, which is third. But the Giants, they can't flat out abandon the running game, guys. The threat of the run is the greatest help to the offensive line during pass protection after last week's debacle. So it can't allow rushers to basically just simply go ahead and go right after the quarterback. Because that's what happened last week, guys. All the pass rusher for the Eagles pinned their ears right back when right for DJ. Because they knew the run wasn't coming. It was long third down conversion attempts. It was, for even the first couple of downs, it was, let's just do passes again. Like that, you can't run an offense that way. And if you look towards this in the second half, they started running a little more often, and it worked out better for them. There was a stretch where Tyrone Tracy had a couple good runs back to back at that point. I believe that's the one that set up what should have been the touchdown to Theo Johnson, if not for that pass interference call. Won't hold on to that one, but that shouldn't have been called, especially when they called one on AJ Brown. But whatever. But the slight pause that gets caused by having a fake handoff, or defenses having to wait to see the play actually develop, could be the difference to whether or not Daniel Jones actually gets a chance to pass the ball.
Give you an extra 2 seconds, or second and a half in the NFL. That's a long time.
Half a second is a long time in the NFL, guys. But the other nice thing about that is also the Steelers also haven't been getting a lot of sacks. They've only been sacking the quarterback on 6.07% of passing plays. That's 22nd in the league. So it might be a little bit easier task for the offensive line than it was last week against the Eagles. But they still need that run game to help them. And I'm not saying it should be the focal point is what I'm getting at, but it's got to be there to help open up the passing game there. But for me, the big question was we talk about protection here for DJ in that scenario and trying to help the offensive line is who's going to play left tackle, guys? That's a big question. They talked about already, said, they're looking at options still, and they've reviewed the tape and they're looking at options. Like, if Dayblood came out on Monday and said, listen, we reviewed the tape. We think Zudu looked horrible in the beginning, but it really settled into it at that point. We're going to give him another game. Then no worries. I'm not thinking about that. Who's going to play? I may not agree, but I'm not guessing who's going to play left tackle. But now you have the option of you got Chris Hubbard, who's been a veteran, who's got a lot of starting experience in this league, who we just signed there on Friday last week. You got Evan Neal, who is amazing at flipping burgers. And, you still have the option of moving Illuminor over to left tackle and having one of those guys start, or putting Josh Uzudu in. Or, if the visit went well yesterday, which we haven't heard any news with DJ Humphries, maybe they do sign DJ Humphries and he comes in to start right off the bat, right off the couch, like Justin Pugh last year.
Pew, pew.
So we'll have to see. There's only 4 guys that I could see potentially taking up that extra starting tackle position, whether it's on the left or right side, depending what they do with the Illuminor.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. Now, the Steelers, though, they're not as good against the pass. They allow 7.1 yards per pass. That's 19th in the league. They also allow 217.3 yards per game. That's 22nd in the league. So, at least some of that, of course, though, is due to the fact that teams are typically playing from behind against them. That's going to encourage more runs, more passes. And they're trying to win because, again, 5-2 the Steelers are. They didn't get that way by being behind in most games. They got that way by winning. And when you're up, teams tend to pass against you more often. That's going to be at least a part of why they have a lot of passing yards against them. A part of it.
What was their first game? Was it 19-15 or 18-15 all field goals?
I believe it was, if I remember correctly. That was the Falcons game, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Or 15-12 or something like that.
Yeah, that was like that insane game that nobody could score a touchdown either side. So, yeah, it was. Let me see here. I'm double checking. Yep, 18-10 for the Falcons. Then they beat the Broncos 13-6. Then they beat the Chargers 20-10. Then they lost to the Colts 27-24. Then they barely lost to the Cowboys 20-17, and then beat up on the Raiders 32-13, and then 37-15 with the Jets last week. So their offense, all of a sudden, last couple of weeks, have been putting up some points too. But before that,
because you got good old Russell Wilson in there now.
Well, that was just last week. But
yeah, what was the score? 37.
Yeah. Now, one other thing that's causing the issue with the pass, though, for the Steelers is point blank, their corners aren't good. As good as this defense is, and there's a whole lot of stars in there, there's not very good corners on this team. Dante Jackson is got a PFF grade of 55.6. Joey Porter Jr., 54.6. Their nickel corner, Beanie Bishop Jr., 59.3. And that's a guy that people are actually in Pittsburgh saying needs to stay on out there because they like him that much. So, when you get a 59.3 and the fans like you, this shows you how bad the rest of the team's doing. Their top corners, James Pierre, 54.0 PFF grade. And they also have ex-Jaguar CJ Henderson. You guys remember him. He spent a little time with the Giants as well. And he's been on their practice squad for most of the season. Really hasn't seen a lot of game time. So, yeah, a very, very poor corner group there. So this is a spot that they could exploit. Now, they do also have Cameron Sutton that they got in the offseason here. He's been suspended by the NFL, though, the first 8 weeks of the season. This is week 8, guys. So we got the last week without Cameron Sutton. We're probably going to help that defense pretty well. Now, what I think the Giants need to do is basically set up formations with extra receivers. If I'm Dable, that's what I'm looking to do. Because the Steelers then are forced to do one of two things. Either put extra corners out there because they have to cover these extra receivers. And you're taking out a better player and putting a worse player in basically to do that.
Pretty much, yeah.
Or you're going to keep with that base defense, and the Giants are going to get really good matchups because now you have linebackers covering wide receivers and that kind of scenario, which is just a offensive play caller's just dream. I think that's what they got to do. Because if you're looking to go toe for toe with this defense, guys, let's be honest, we don't have the firepower to do it.
Firepower.
We do not. And I think that's the only way to get this really going is to try to exploit the weakness they have. You know, that sometimes is really key in the NFL. Find out what a team is good at and don't plan to use that too often. Find out what a team's really bad at and attack that until they prove they can stop it. Think about it. How many times do you see the Giants have that done to them? They just had it done last week when they just kept on running Saquon Barkley. And usually that's what it is us with the run that we can't stop the run. Or how many games have been where an offense is attacking us because we can't cover the tight end? And just keep on throwing the tight end, keep on throwing the tight end. When a team sucks at something, you keep attacking that thing they suck at until they prove they can stop it.
Yeah.
So to me, that's what we got to do. Throw out the extra wide receivers at that point. You know, maybe do 4 wide receiver sets, throw Hyatt out there, even if it's just a decoy because he's not that good. You know, if he's not playing the game with the rib injury at that point, I forgot about that for a minute there. Put Isaiah Hodgins out there or somebody like that with him. You know, I mean, you could put people out there. And just because you don't have great receivers towards the bottom end of the roster, guys, listen, nobody has great players at the bottom end of your roster, first off.
You still have to respect it.
You're telling me you don't think that trying to put a guy out there that maybe all of a sudden a guy like TJ Watt has to go ahead and try to cover instead of rush the passer? If you don't think that's a win for the Giants, that's a win.
Big time win.
That's a win.
If you get TJ Watt off of DJ and put him onto a Hodgins,
yeah,
it's a giant win.
That's it. Was that a pun?
Ooh.
Oh. Now, one thing if we do it that way, because keep in mind, if you do that kind of stuff, you're gonna open it up for, open up the run game that way as well. Potentially if they put multiple corners out there because you're gonna have less people up the middle. You're gonna open up for more short yardage pass games, which is Wan'Dale Robinson's specialty, obviously. It's gonna create positive matchups, I think, if they do that. Daniel Jones, though, also needs to be very careful with the football. The Steelers get an interception on 3.88% of passes, which is 4th best in the league. Now, 3 out of their 9 interceptions they've gotten on the year have been with Dante Jackson, who we talked about a minute ago, one of their starting corners. He's questionable in the game. So we may not even be facing him. And if that brings that down from 9 to 6, that's a big freaking difference, guys. The big thing for me is Malik Neighbors. Like, if you're looking for somebody to step up in a game, guys, and don't get me wrong, Malik Neighbors has already stepped up several times for us. Malik Neighbors should be able to feast in this game point blank if the line can give Jones the time and he can actually get the ball into Neighbors' hands. Flat out, our receivers, Neighbors, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, are better than the Steelers' corners. Our receivers need to catch the ball, though, and solve this issue with the drops and help DJ out. Because, let's be honest, guys, this very well could be the swan song for Daniel Jones. And what I mean by that is, remember the singing seagull in The Little Mermaid? Like, that kind of disastrous song. Like, I don't think this is going to go well. DJ sucks in primetime games. But this is where we're at, guys. This could be the last game we see Daniel Jones. And I know a lot of y'all don't like him. I don't like him as a quarterback. The guy has put a lot of work in. I'd like to see him go out with something positive, if that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I think the Steelers are going to beat us. I really do. But let's have him at least a couple big throws or a couple nice something extra that he can, hang his hat on there if this is the end of the Daniel Jones era, which it's got to be, guys. It should already be. We've already talked about that to nauseam. It should already be. He should not be starting.
Yeah.
There's nothing to gain except for him getting hurt. But, yeah. It's done, guys. It's time. Now keep in mind the Steelers, like I said, they have a ton of talent on defense. They got stars all over the place. Outside linebacker TJ Watt, one of the best in the game. Inside linebacker Patrick Queen, former Ram. Defensive lineman Cameron Hayward, who's had how many years of 10 sacks plus in the D line. Minka Fitzpatrick, the star safety. I mean, there's like there's everywhere, guys. Everywhere. Except corner. That being said, though, I fully expect the Giants offense to be severely outmatched. And again, if they can only put up 7 points against the Bengals, why should we think that they have any hope against this defense? There's nothing to see positive in this, guys. Absolutely nothing. No. The only hope we have is that they get a couple big plays for a couple touchdowns and the defense does its thing. It's the only hope. It sounds sad.
The only hope.
Just being honest. Just being honest.
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging